Yo, so 50 Cent just crossed a line that might have gotten Jay-Z more heated than we've ever seen him. Like, I'm talking about full meltdown mode right now. After being named in the Epstein files, 50 Cent hopped on Instagram and said, "Damn, they got your man Jay in the Epstein files. I gotta do a doc on this." And bro, the internet went absolutely nuclear. This isn't just regular beef anymore. This is 50 Cent threatening to expose Jay-Z to the entire world with a full-blown documentary, the same way he did Diddy. And according to sources close to the situation, Jay-Z's response behind the scenes has been nothing short of complete chaos. We're talking legal teams being assembled, emergency meetings at 2 a.m., threats being thrown around. This is about to get messy, real messy. So stay locked in, because what I'm about to tell you is legitimately insane. So let me set the stage for you real quick. Over this past weekend, these Epstein files started circulating online. FBI tip line documents from 2019, where Jay-Z's government name, Sean Carter, got mentioned alongside allegations involving Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein's mansion back in 1996. Now, I covered the initial story in my last video, but what's happened since then is absolutely wild. Jay-Z has been completely silent publicly. No Instagram posts, no statements, nothing. But behind the scenes, man, it's been World War III. And then 50 Cent, who's literally never missed an opportunity to troll someone when they're down, saw his moment and took it. He posted on Instagram with that classic 50 Cent smirk, saying he wants to make a documentary about Jay-Z being in the Epstein files. And for those of you who don't know, 50 Cent isn't just talking. This man actually made multiple documentaries exposing Diddy that ended up on major streaming platforms. He knows how to execute. He knows how to damage someone's reputation permanently. And now, he's got Jay-Z in his crosshairs. So let's talk about what 50 actually said, because the wording matters here. He posted a split image of himself and Jay-Z with the caption, "Damn, they got your man Jay in the Epstein files. I gotta do a doc on this." Now, to most people, this looks like 50 just being 50, trolling and joking around like he always does. But sources close to both camps are telling us that 50 is actually dead serious about this. Like, he's apparently already had preliminary conversations with producers and streaming platforms about the possibility of making this documentary. And here's why this is such a massive problem for Jay-Z. When 50 made those Diddy documentaries, they completely destroyed Diddy's public image. We're talking about millions of people watching detailed breakdowns of allegations, interviewing people who had stories to tell, piecing together timelines. It wasn't just gossip, it was presented like investigative journalism. And whether everything in those docs was 100% accurate or not, the damage was done. Diddy's reputation never recovered. And now, 50 wants to do the same thing to Jay-Z. I'm hearing from people in the industry that Jay-Z's team immediately went into crisis mode when they saw 50's post. Like, within hours of that Instagram post going up, Jay's lawyers were apparently making calls, trying to figure out what their options were. Can they legally stop 50 from making this documentary? Can they sue for defamation? Can they send cease and desist letters? And here's the thing, this is where it gets legally complicated. Because 50 Cent isn't making allegations himself. He's saying he wants to make a documentary about Jay-Z being named in the Epstein files, which is a factual thing that happened. Jay's name did appear in FBI tip line documents. That's not disputable. So legally, it's really hard to stop someone from making a documentary about publicly available information. Now, this is where things get really interesting. Multiple sources are telling us that Jay-Z's response to 50 Cent behind the scenes has been absolutely unhinged. And I say that because apparently Jay-Z, who's usually so calculated, so controlled, so strategic, has completely lost it over this documentary threat. One source close to the situation told me that Jay made some phone calls to people in the industry, trying to apply pressure on 50 to back off. We're talking about Jay allegedly reaching out to mutual business partners, to executives at companies where both of them have deals, basically trying to leverage his power and influence to shut this down before it even starts. But here's the problem. 50 Cent doesn't care, like at all. This is a man who's been shot 9 times, who's been bankrupt, who's been sued, who's been through it all. You think he's scared of Jay-Z making some phone calls? Nah. If anything, Jay trying to pressure him probably just motivated 50 even more. Because now 50 can say, "Oh, you're trying to silence me? That means there's something to hide. That means this documentary needs to happen." And apparently, there was an incident. I'm hearing this from sources, so take it with a grain of salt. But apparently, there was an incident where Jay-Z tried to have a direct conversation with 50 Cent. Not through lawyers, not through intermediaries, but man to man. And according to what I'm hearing, that conversation did not go well at all. Jay allegedly came at 50 aggressive, telling him that making this documentary would be a huge mistake, that there would be consequences, that 50 doesn't want to go to war with him. And 50's response? Apparently, he laughed, like literally laughed at Jay-Z and told him to do his worst. Now, I can't confirm if that conversation actually happened, but what I can tell you is that people in the industry are talking about it. And the fact that these rumors are circulating tells you how serious this situation has gotten. Because normally, when there's beef between major artists, there's at least some level of professionalism, some level of keeping things behind closed doors. But this feels like it's about to spill out into the public in a major way. Let's talk about what a 50 Cent documentary on Jay-Z would actually look like, because this isn't just a hypothetical anymore. Based on how 50 structured his Diddy documentaries, we can predict what he'd probably focus on. First, he'd obviously cover the Epstein files allegations in detail. He'd show the actual FBI documents. He'd interview legal experts about what these documents mean. He'd create a whole timeline of 1996 and whether it was plausible for Jay-Z to have been connected to Weinstein and Epstein at that point in his career. But it wouldn't stop there. 50 would dig into everything. He'd bring up the Tony Busby lawsuit from December, where Jay-Z was accused alongside Diddy. He'd examine Jay-Z's relationship with Harvey Weinstein, because there are pictures of them together. There are documented business dealings. He'd probably interview former Roc Nation artists who left on bad terms. He'd look at every controversy Jay's ever been involved in and present it all together as a pattern. And here's what makes this so dangerous for Jay. With Diddy, a lot of the allegations had been public knowledge for years. People in the industry knew stories. Victims had spoken out before. So when 50 made those documentaries, it was more about compiling existing information. But with Jay-Z, Jay has managed to keep his reputation relatively clean for decades. Yes, there have been rumors and whispers, but nothing that ever really stuck. A 50 Cent documentary would change that. It would take everything that's ever been whispered about Jay-Z and put it in a polished, professional package that millions of people would watch. Sources are also telling me that 50 has apparently been reaching out to people, trying to find interview subjects for this potential documentary. And some people are willing to talk. Because here's the thing, Jay-Z has made a lot of enemies over the years. People who feel like he did them dirty in business deals, artists who feel like they got screwed by Roc Nation, industry people who don't like how Jay operates. And now they see an opportunity to get their stories out there with the backing of someone as influential as 50 Cent. I'm also hearing that streaming platforms are actually interested. Like, after the success of the Diddy documentaries, Netflix, Hulu, all these platforms know that a controversial hip-hop documentary generates massive views. And a documentary about Jay-Z, one of the biggest names in music history, being connected to Epstein, that's potentially the biggest documentary of the year. So even if Jay-Z's team tries to pressure these platforms not to air it, the financial incentive is so strong that they might do it anyway. But let's zoom out for a second and talk about what this means for hip-hop culture and the industry as a whole. Because what we're watching right now is unprecedented. You've got 50 Cent, who's basically positioned himself as this vigilante documentarian, going after the most powerful people in hip-hop. First Diddy, now potentially Jay-Z. And the crazy thing is, 50's documentaries actually have impact. They change public perception. They force conversations that people in power don't want to have. And Jay-Z knows this. He's watched what happened to Diddy. He's seen how those documentaries shifted the narrative, how they made it impossible for Diddy to defend himself because the allegations were presented in such a compelling way. And now, Jay's facing the same thing, except arguably worse, because these are Epstein connections we're talking about. In today's social media climate, being associated with Epstein in any way is basically a death sentence for your reputation. What's really interesting is how different people in the industry are reacting to this. You've got artists who are staying completely silent because they don't want to be seen as picking sides. You've got people who are quietly rooting for 50 because they've never liked Jay-Z. And you've got Jay's loyal supporters who are trying to defend him, but struggling because the optics are so bad. Like, how do you defend someone who's been named in Epstein files? Even if the allegations are completely false, even if it's just a tip line report that went nowhere, the association alone is damaging. What's really sad about all of this is that we might never know the truth. These Epstein files are allegations from a tip line. They're not proven facts. But in the court of public opinion, allegations are often treated as truth. And once a documentary exists, once millions of people watch a professionally produced piece of content laying out these allegations, it becomes part of Jay-Z's story forever, just like what happened with Diddy. The next few weeks are going to be crucial. We need to see if Jay makes a public statement. We need to see if 50 actually moves forward with this documentary. We need to see how the industry reacts, how fans react, how business partners react. Because this isn't just about beef between two rappers anymore. This is about legacy, about power, about who controls the narrative in hip-hop. Anyway, this concludes today's video. Be sure to subscribe to LoafTube for future celebrity videos, and turn on that post notification bell so you don't miss out on any future uploads. Until then, see you in the next one.